Hi and welcome to my channel. This is DanDaDotman and this is my first video. So first video hype. Basically I tutor math here. So anything math related, you can send to my email at dotman.math@gmail.com. Send me any comments, questions, or concerns. As you can tell by the title of the video, this video is going to be about factoring. This is my tried and true factoring method that I came up with on my own, believe it or not. I was young. Uh, anyway, let's go ahead and get started. First video hype. All right, so anyway, let's go ahead and begin. First things first, let's put some tips here at the corner. This is going to help us to stay on track and stay on topic. Um, Basically, we're going to find factors of numbers. Well, now, what is a factor, you may be asking? So let's just take this for example. We have 4 times 3 is equal to 12, right? We know that. We've always known that. 4 times 3 will be considered the factors. Is what two numbers, when you multiply them together, would give us the answer, which we will call the product. So we're trying to find out these guys over here. We're trying to figure out how do we get our hands on these. So if they ask us to find two factors of 12, we would know that it's 4 and 3. So 4 times 3. There's other combinations. You can also do 1 times 12 would give you a 12. You can do 6 times 2. And the goal here is to figure out every single factor possible. And luckily for you guys, I have the perfect technique for that. So say for example, we have a number like 30. The first factor of 30 is always 30 times 1 because 30 times 1 is 30, right? So make sure you always put that as your first factor. And now let's go ahead and do our technique. We're going to divide by the smallest number possible. So you have a lot of options to divide 30 by, right? You can divide it by 2, you can divide it by 3, 5, 6, 10. So many options, but we want to divide by the smallest number out of that whole list. So we're going to divide 30 by 2. So mind you, on the left hand side, that's where we want to start. We want to just divide the 30 by 2. So I'm just going to put a divide by 2 symbol here. And on the right hand side, because we divided by 2, you want to use the same exact factor and multiply by 2 on the right. So I'll show you how it's done. So for example, we're taking 30 and we're dividing by 2. 30 divided by 2 is 15. That's just half of 30, right? Divided by 2 is just like taking half of the number. So we already did the left. Now let's jump over to the right side. We do 1 times 2, which is 2. And with every step, when you're finding factors, you want to ask yourself, hey, is this factor times this factor equal to the number that I've been looking for this whole time? And the answer is yes, 15 times 2 is definitely equal to 30. So we're going to go again. We're going to do the same exact routine, but this time we're going to try to break down the 15. So what can 15 be divided by? 15 can be divided by 3. It can be divided by 5. It can also be divided by 1 and 15, but you never want to use the same exact factors from the previous step. So you don't want to divide this thing by 15 because you're going to end up with a 1. So we're going to choose between either 3 or 5. So which one do we choose? We always divide by the smallest number. Always. So we're going to divide this thing by 3. So let's just make a little note here. We're going to, this time, divide by 3. And if you're going to divide by 3 on the left, that means you're going to multiply by 3 on the right. So let's do it. So 15 divided by 3 will give you a 5. Remember, always put the answer. So we divide it on the left, and on the right hand side, 2 times 3 would give you 6. And now you have to sit here and ask yourself, is 5 times 6 equal to 30? Absolutely. So let's keep on going. So we're going to start from the left side again. Now take a look at this. 5 is not divisible by anything besides 5 in itself, right? So you're going to have to switch, because that number is prime. And a prime number is a number that cannot be broken down any further. It's the opposite of composite. Composite numbers can be divided by different numbers, many different numbers, right? At least 2 numbers other than itself, right? So we're going to go ahead and switch both sides. We're just going to change our game around just a little bit. And we're going to focus on the 6. So just keep your eyes on the 6. At this point, remember, once again, you're going to divide by some number on the right, and on the left, you're going to multiply by some number. So what can 6 be divided by? 6 can be divided by 2. Oh, as a side note, if that thing can be divided by 2, you always want to use 2. It's simple, it's easy, and you can't get much smaller than 2, right? Besides 1, but remember, we don't want to use the 1, right? So we're going to divide both sides by 2. I'm sorry, we're going to divide the right-hand side by 2 and multiply the left-hand side by 2. As always, divide, multiply, divide, multiply. So 6 divided by 2 will give you a 3. Let me go ahead and change the color. So we get a 3. So divide by 2, multiply by 2 on the left, you get a 10. 3 can't be divided again. So once again, 3 is prime. So we're going to have to switch over to the left-hand side and do the same exact thing. So do you see how once you end up with the prime number, you have to switch to the other side? So now we're back at the 10 again. Now, we can divide 10 by 2, but wouldn't you get a 5? Didn't we already have a 5 when we were doing that? So because you have a 5 already, right? Right here, we already have a 5. If you were to divide this thing by 2, you get a wow, fail. Okay, so if you were to divide this thing by 2, you're going to get a 5. So we don't want that. But guess what? Because we already have a 5 within our problem and we've been dividing by the smallest number each and every single time, that means that we are done. We're finished. These are all the factors of 30, every one of them. So this was just a little preliminary. We can do more, and using the tips in the corner. Notice that we didn't have the 3 trick quite worked out yet. We're gonna do that right now. All right, let me go ahead and change the color and change it back to pen. Okay, so let's take a number like 243. The first factor of 243 is 1, and the goal is to find all the factors, all the combinations that would give you 243. So definitely this thing is not divisible by 2 because it's odd. And remember, an odd number is a number where its last digit ends in 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, those last digits. So we can't divide this thing by 2 because we'll end up with a remainder. It doesn't go in evenly. But can this number be divided by 3? Absolutely. And over here, we're going to use what's called the 3 trick. I don't know what people are calling it these days. It's more like a technique. I thought it was awesome when I first learned it. Anyway, so here's the 3. Here's what the 3 trick is all about, right? You see those digits? You have 243. When you add these digits together, 2 plus 4 plus 3, 2 plus 4 is 6, 6 plus 3 is 9. This is where you ask yourself, is 9 divisible by 3? Like, is it possible? And yes, absolutely, 9 is a part of the 3 times tables. So because 9 is divisible by 3, 243 is definitely divisible by 3. So let's go ahead and just do the little division, the tried and true division that we've been doing since like forever, right? Okay, 3 can't go into 2, so we have to figure out what's 3 into 24. We're going to get an 8. 8 times 3 is 24. Let's go ahead and subtract. That'll be 0. We bring down the 3, and 3 goes into itself just one time. So 243 divided by 3 gives us 81. Now, remember, on the left-hand side, we divide it by some number. What did we divide by to get to 81 in the first place? We divided by 3. So to keep it, symmetrical, on the right-hand side, you want to multiply your factor by 3. The factor from the previous step, you want to multiply the 1 by 3. So let's do that. What's 1 times 3? 1 times 3 is 3. All right, we're going to keep on doing the same exact thing. We're going to just keep on dividing, multiply, divide, multiply, divide, multiply. Make sure you divide first. So let's take a look at number 81. So 81 can be divided by 9 as part of the 9 times tables, which means it can be divided by 3. I always want you to choose the smallest number each and every single time. So we divide this thing by 3. So let's figure out how many times 3 goes into 81. That goes in twice. We're going to subtract 6. That would be 2, 1, 7. So 81 divided by 3 is 27. 3 times 3 will give you a 9. And we can keep on going, keep dividing, multiplying. So 27 divided by 3, we know that's part of the 3 times tables. 27 divided by 3 is 9, but don't we already have a 9? Absolutely. So guess what? This is the final, these are the final factors. These are the only factors of 243. And the reason why I can say this with confidence is because we've been dividing by the smallest number possible. So in the next example, I'm going to show you what happens when you don't divide by the smallest number possible. So let's go ahead and take a number like 100. All right, so check this out. Instead of dividing by 5, right, I'm going to divide by 2. So I'm sorry. I'm so tempted. I've been divided by 2 so often. Instead of dividing by 2, which will be the smallest number that we can divide by, I'm going to divide by 5 instead. When you divide by 5, you're going to get a 20. Multiply by 5, you get a 5. We're multiplying the 1 from the previous step by our new factor, right? So divide by 5, multiply by 5. We get 20 and 5. This completely throws us off. Even though 20 and 5, they're worthy factors, right? 20 times 5 is 100. At least you got your hands on a factor. But we're not applying this little step here. And you're going to see when we try to divide and multiply, we're going to miss a couple factors. Like there are going to be some in between that we miss. If you divide by the smallest number using that technique, you're guaranteed, you're absolutely guaranteed. It's like taking a fine tooth comb and going through all your factors. You're going to get every single one of your factors. So watch, we can divide by 2, 10, multiply by 2, 10. And it's like, what do we do from here? I guess we can get a little creative. We can start saying, okay, I know that 50 times 2 is also equal to 100. Hey, if you know it, go ahead and write it down. But look, we're all over the place here. Like these are definite, they're factors. They're definitely going to work, but this isn't how we want to do it. So you want to stay in the mathematical mindset. So we don't want to do it this way. Let's go ahead and do the Daniel's method, the DanDaDotman's method, right? Divide by the smallest number possible. This sucker is even, so divide by 2, which means we're going to multiply the other factor by 2. So divide by 2, multiply by 2. Divide by 2, multiply by 2. Divide by 5, multiply by 5. Now, this is prime, so we're going to switch. So let's go ahead and switch over to the other side. Oh, and we've been dividing by the smallest number, by the way. So you want to make sure you're doing those things. I don't know if we're going to use the 3 trick yet. Maybe not. So you don't always have to use the 3 trick. But let's go ahead and switch over to the side with the 20. Do the same exact routine. Divide by 2, multiply by 2. Divide by 2, we're going to get a 5. So listen, we are done. These are all the factors of 100. So in the next example, using this trick, no matter what they throw at you, the number can be pretty ridiculous, right? The number can be pretty large. Like let's take something like 240, relatively large, right? And then, spoiler alert, we're going to find all the factors of 1000 without missing one. But for now, let's find all the factors of 240. The first factor of 240 is always 240 times 1. So there's one combination. Let's go ahead and use Daniel's method, the dotman method, whatever you want to call it, as long as it's helpful, right? Okay, let's do it. And I'm going to crank up the speed with this one. So divide by 2, multiply by 2, divide by 2, multiply by 2. Divide by 2, multiply by 2, divide by 2, multiply by 2, divide by 3, multiply by 3. We get 48. Remember, if you're not too on point with your multiplication, take your 16, multiply by 3, just like that. Just go off to the side. Don't be ashamed. That'll be 18, carry the 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus the other 1 is going to be 48. So it's 48. And now we're here. So we have to stop here at the 5. Because it's prime, so we're going to switch over to the other side and do the same exact routine. So coming from the 48 side, 48 divided by 2 is 24. 5 times 2 is 10. Divide by 2, multiply by 2. Divide by 2, multiply by 2. Divide by 2, multiply by 2. And look at this. They should make sense. They should make sense as you go. Is 80 times 3 equal to 240? Absolutely. Is 48 times 5 equal to 240? I didn't know with 100% certainty. You have to do the math in your head sometimes. I didn't know with 100% certainty, but because we've been doing this method, I know that 5 times 48 has to give you 240. Anyway, let's go back to the method. 3 is prime, so we're going to switch, and we had definitely been dividing by the smallest number. We're going to switch over to the 80, divide by 2. You're going to get 40 like from the previous steps. So guess what? You are done. These are every single fact. These are all the factors of 240. So this method is pretty is really really good in my opinion. I came across it when I was young. I was smarter then. Right? I was more ambitious. But if you use this method, you're gonna get every single factor each and every single time. Just make sure that you're dividing by the smallest number. Make sure you switch the sides when they're prime. Remember, always divide first, multiply second. And now it's time for what you've all been waiting for. We're gonna find all the factors of 1000, and we're gonna find it in record time. Ready? Divide by 2, multiply by 2, divide by 2, multiply by 2, divide by 2, multiply by 2. This looks like $1.25 to me, and I know it's not divisible by 3 because I added up all the digits. 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 5 is 8. 8 is not divisible by 3, so we're not going to use this one. However, can it be divided by 5? Absolutely, because it ends in 5 or 0, so we're going to divide by 5. You get 25. 25 times 5 is 125 because 25 cents, 5 quarters is $1.25, right? That's the way you should be thinking of math sometimes. Make it relatable. Anyway, divide by 5, multiply by 5, divide by 5, multiply by 5. It's prime, so we're going to switch to the other side. Divide by 2, you get 100. Multiply by 2, you get 10. Divide by 2, you get 50. Multiply by 2, you get 20. Divide by 2, you get 25, but we already have a 25. So you already know what time it is. These are all the factors of 1000, and I can say that with full certainty because we've been dividing by the smallest number. All right, and that'll be at the end of the lesson. So if you have any questions, please hit up my email, send me anything you like regarding math. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, reply right to my YouTube channel. You can email me as much as you like. Send me problems. Please send me problems. I need ideas for the channel to grow. That'll be it. Thank you so much for watching.